My name is Sarah Jerem, and you're watching Artistic Digs. This series shines a spotlight on musical contemporaries who inspire me to talk with them and learn more about their creative space. So my special guest today is my good friend Stephen Harvey, all the way from Salisbury, Maryland. Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yay! It's great. I'm really excited. You're like our first non-Canadian guest on the show.
Oh, no, I'm Canadian at heart, they tell me.
Totally. I
No
knew there
one's
was a
ever told
reason
me.
we got along.
Never been to Canada. No one's ever told me that, but I can assume.
You've never been to Canada? Not
Oh
yet?
no, the only international place I've been is Mexico. I've never even been to Europe. Uh,
Oh,
I did not travel much until recently, until like the 2010s. So never been to
wow.
Canada.
That's gonna need to change. We got to get you into Canada.
That would be wonderful. Right now, you guys are kind of locked down, right?
Well,
Like
there
a
is
little bit.
that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard right now, but eventually.
Eventually we'll get there. Wow,
Oh.
it's crazy. Crazy. I know. I live like 10 minutes from the border too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that Toronto close to the border? I'm also really bad with geography.
Me
No,
too.
not a
Me too. It's
Toronto.
so I'm not in Toronto. I live in St. Catharines. I work in Toronto quite a bit, but I live in St. Catharines, and St. Catharines is really close to Niagara Falls, Canada. So, and
Oh,
Niagara
okay.
Falls is like right there.
Never been there, but okay. It's like everyone knows what Niagara Falls is, though.
This is it. So you'll have to come, and we'll go to the falls, and we'll do like the touristy thing, and then we'll play some music.
Oh yeah, terrifying. The falls seem really beautiful, but I mean from afar,
Yeah,
like they're just so high up.
they are very big and very loud and very beautiful. But yes, Stephen Philip Harvey is a composer and arranger based in Salisbury, Maryland, USA. As a bandleader and composer, Stephen has performed in Western Pennsylvania, Northeast Ohio, and is set to expand to the eastern shore of the United States. His large ensemble, the SPH Jazz Orchestra and octet SPH8, contain some of the finest musicians in the Pittsburgh and Cleveland areas that bring his compositions to life. Find out more about Stephen and his music at stephenpharvey.com, which we will also list in the YouTube description so everybody can check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, welcome again. And
Thank
yeah, how have you been? We kind of covered a little bit of that,
you.
but
Yeah, we went over this, but I mean, like, the same thing I'll say at every party. That it's it's been a time. It's been a good. What has it been? 14 months since the beginning of the pandemic. I actually thought I was going to see you around this time this year because we usually see each other every 2 years at ISJAC. I'm excited for next year still, but like, uh, but it's been cool. It's been really nice to see students again. I'm a full time teacher as well for public school. So it's been really nice seeing students again now that I'm vaccinated. But aside from that, like, it's been a lot of planning to get back into the public music thing rather than the I'm just here music thing.
mm, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What
So
about
much
you?
planning. So much planning and so much contingency planning. It's funny, I was just going through all these emails because I've got this large ensemble project that you know about. And it was
Yeah.
set to premiere last October, October 2020.
Hmm.
And then it was rescheduled to October 2021. And now I've moved it again to May. No, sorry,
Oh,
March 2022. Just
I
to be
didn't know you
safe.
moved it again, just to be
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
be safe.
This is Magpie,
This is
right?
Magpie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was just like I was going through all these emails last night, like just looking at the history of everything, and like 2 weeks out of I think it was like March 17th, I sent a group email. And it was like, hey guys, just using my self-isolation time to like get organized. Here's some updates. And then it was like June. So I think we're gonna move this. And now we're moving it again.
I had the same thing happen with a New York show. I was supposed to have my first New York show. I was really excited about it. I put together a band of people I really, really admire. And I didn't know that you could just DM people on Instagram to be like, hey, you want to play a show? And they'd be like, yeah, you paying money? And I'm like, of course. Of course, I'd be like, here's the details, blah, blah, blah. And the band was really cool. And it was supposed to be April, no, yeah, April 28th of last year. So, like, I had put the band together. I was finishing up a piece that was going to be the second to last piece for this set of pieces I was writing at that time. And I was like ready to go. And I was going to use that last month to write the last piece because I'm a very deadline oriented person when it comes to some things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then March 13th hit. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, I don't think it's happening at all. And then we rescheduled it to the summer, thinking everything will be fine. And, it has not been rescheduled yet since. I'm still trying to work with that venue to go back, but it's like iffy with a lot of venues of whether they'll be open in the future, which is like a really sad and frustrating thing.
Exactly. I know, right? And finding like a venue for large ensemble,
Really,
it's
yeah.
hard. There's
It,
already
it
slim
windows your
pickings.
choices. There's this great Pittsburgh Jazz Club. So right now I'm trying to organize a couple of shows in August, like later on. Just give more months for people to be vaccinated. Right now, I say more months, but in a couple of weeks that'll be 2 months. But still, some more time for people to get vaccinated and be more comfortable being in the public. Um, but I'm organizing some shows from August. And I'm trying to get a Pittsburgh date right now, and the places that I could go are all too small. Like if I was traveling with a quartet, if I like was playing with a quartet, there would be so many more options. But unfortunately, that is not the case.
Yeah. The joys of booking a big band and then also this.
Yeah,
And you're like, you've got a huge project. Like
yeah. Fortunately,
really,
which is cool.
yeah.
So for the viewers at home, uh, right now I'm organizing a kind of mini tour before a recording of a suite of compositions that are all dedicated to superheroes, comic book characters, archetypes, and tropes. And like the project itself is called Smash. I used to call it the Hero Project, and then I think Marvel came out with something called the Hero Project, where it was like some sort of educational fundraiser or something. And I was like, well, can't name it that anymore.
Oh.
So yeah, as you can see from the giant Black Panther on my wall, I am an avid comic book and superhero fan,
Wicked.
and I wanted to write some pieces based on those concepts and based on those characters that I really really like. So I finished that suite of compositions last. I wrote the second to last one right before the pandemic hit, and then I wrote the last one 6 months later after I got out of a funk. Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
yeah. There was a very long period of time where I was like, "It's pointless. There's no point in doing anything. I'm just here and nothing matters." And then I was just like, "Why am I not writing?" Uh,
Well, fair.
and then went back into it. Yeah, I was very frustrated for a very long, especially because all those things got canceled. And as a lot of people were, as everyone was. I mean, like everyone's lives were put on pause. And then I don't know what it was. I think I had a conversation with Ryan Truesdale one day, or maybe it was just like my wife, or maybe it was my therapist who was just like, "Hey, you're a lot happier when you're doing stuff," and I was like, "Then maybe I should do some stuff."
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah,
Yeah. I feel you on all that. Like it was really hard to write during the pandemic.
I'm trying to remember the book that I was. There's another book that I read. Oh, it's called The War of Art. I like looked at my bookshelf. I'm like, I know it's not buried. So there's this book called The War of Art that I read towards the end of the summer last year. That a couple of different people I saw via like podcasts or uh, vodcast. Like Bob Reynolds, the saxophonist,
Yeah.
has a really cool vodcast that he's done for a vlog. He calls it a vlog that he's done for the past like almost 8 years now. Um,
Cool.
and he was talking about this book and the resistance. It's like it talks about this concept called the resistance and how when we try to do a thing, whether it's composing, whether it's creating art, whether it's like going to the gym, there is this ethereal concept that eats at us in the back of our mind, and then tactics to get over it. And I was like, oh, this all sounds nice in like theory, and then it took me 2 more months to like apply those practices.
But it takes you however long it takes, right? Actually, two
Right.
months is really good.
I think so. I was I was very much so like, you got to get back on that horse, and then I would look at the horse, and me and the horse would like kind of side eye each other, and then I'd go maybe the next day.
Totally.
Yeah,
But I mean, it was a heavy year. Lots of goings on. And yeah, it was a hard time to be creative. So, I mean, it's funny because I've been asking people, like, what have you been up to during the pandemic? And some people have just been like, nothing. And that's great. It's whatever you can do to get yourself through this period of time. So it's amazing that you actually like were able to push through the resistance.
there were some things that came up instead of music that was really cool. Like I had always, not always, in the most recent years, I'd really gotten into going to the gym and lifting, but then like powerlifting became a thing in the past year, like really, really increasing the weight uh, on my reps instead of like low weight and like high reps. It'd be like high weight and very low reps for things like so like 1, 2 reps, and going to like increase my PR for bench press was like a really big thing that I was gunning for. Once the gyms opened back up, my wife and I decided to start running a bit more intensely at the beginning of the pandemic, and then like the couch and beer got to me after we finished our goal. We hit our goal, and I was like, "Yeah!" And I can count on 4 hands the amount of times that I've ran since. But she was like, "We should run a half marathon," and I was like, "Okay." I cried at the end, but I did
You did that? Wow.
at the
That's
beginning.
amazing. Like when you started to write, what were you working on? You said it was the last movement of your
Oh yeah,
project?
so it's not necessarily in movements, and like the project itself is definitely not done. I would really like. I still have more ideas, so I decided that 9 was the number that I was going for,
Cool.
and that would be like enough for a recording. Even though I have more than 9 ideas stuck in my notes, but the most recent thing that I wrote was a piece called "Projectile Dysfunction," and it is. I said the title out loud the other day to my wife, and she was like, "What did you just say?" I was like, "That's kind of the point of the title, but at the same time, please don't make me feel like that." But the impetus behind that, or the idea behind that, is like those big drag out fights between people that use projectiles like lasers or guns or cannons, like those superheroes with like super awesome laser hands or like electrical powers, all fighting all at once. That was the original idea. As it develops, it sounds like a jazz chart, but like at the beginning and towards the end, that's like the vibe that I was going for. But yeah, that was the last of the first 9 compositions. So I have like a note that I keep where one day I'll just like think and be like, yeah, that'd be a good piece.
Yeah.
Then I write that down. But I really like attaching ideas to pieces, and sometimes that comes after a portion of development, and then sometimes it's like I sit down and go, how can I represent this idea? So it's like different methods produce different pieces, but I don't know. That was the last thing that I did. That was in October or November. Can't remember when I finished it. Yeah.
How long does it take you to write one piece?
That's a great question. If I have a deadline, say that I do say I have a concert in July, and it's May. What is today? May 28th, May 27th. I have a concert in July. I have 5 weeks to write all this stuff. I could probably write 2 charts in that time. If it's arrangements, I could probably write an arrangement a week. But I would also want to leave my week open for like editing things. And I say this knowing that that's not necessarily true right now, because while this is going on, I'm still teaching online, and all the teaching online stuff has like really skewed what time is and what time I have available outside of the school day. But like if it's a regular school year and my evenings are free, because I'm a very 3:05 teacher. The clock strikes at 3:05, and unless there's a meeting that I need to attend, I do not go to it outside of school, because that's my creative time and I need to protect that. Um, so and then there's a lot of teachers who feel like a completely different way. They're like, no, you have to give your all to like the school, and I'm like, that's not my life.
But
Uh,
you're.
yeah. I mean, and that's what their passion, and that's where they're what they're passionate about. And I am passionate about teaching my kids and rehearsing with my kids and holding them to a standard and them meeting that standard within the classroom. But once they leave that classroom, or once they leave school, they also have a life. So I should too, or so should I. And that's kind of my thing. But if I had all the time outside of school and wasn't creating materials for any of the 2 teaching jobs, then I could do 4 charts in a month, especially if there are arrangements where a lot of the material is already given there. I just need an idea of how to manipulate it, because I don't go too far into masking a tune when I arrange it.
Wow. Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
but without a deadline, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
drag it out. And like, or you can start it and put it away and then bring it back out, and you're like, oh, I should finish this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so did you, when you went to, sorry, this is in your bio, is it
I
in
don't
your
think it
bio?
is.
No,
No,
where
it's
did you
not.
go to school? Let's talk about where you went to school and what you studied.
That's funny, and at the same time, I studied mus ed with a concentration in voice during my undergrad, which not a lot of people know. So my undergrad training was operatic bass baritone repertoire,
Oh, yeah.
and
I remember you telling me that. Sorry, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I still was playing actively during all of that time, and that's actually when I fell in love with jazz music. I love my high school band director so much. He was a great guy, um, but he wasn't a jazz musician, so it was more so like that, like run of the mill um, jazz charts. Just play the written solo and the thing, and the only reason I joined jazz band in the first place is because he ran out of tenors. So he was like, "Hey, you're gonna play in jazz band your last 2 years of high school. Just pretend that it's upper octave clarinet figuring." So I was like, "Okay, cool," because I only played clarinet up until that time. But I went to school for mus ed, thinking that I was going to be a high school band director one day. I'm like, "Oh, I'll be a high school band director one day." I do not. I don't like marching band. I don't ever want to do that. And during my last 2 years of undergrad, I got into writing a lot. I was still doing jazz band that entire time and jazz combo that entire time, which was like me learning more about jazz than I had ever done in high school. Um,
Mhm.
and after like that junior year, I was making the decision that I would like to pursue writing music, but specifically writing jazz idiom music or improvisational idiom music. And during my student teaching, I was like looking around at schools, and my uh, dad lives in Youngstown, Ohio, and I originally lived in Youngstown, Ohio for for a year and a half of my childhood, and I'd never considered Youngstown State as a school for music. And then a couple of my professors were like, "Oh, we graduated from Youngstown State. It's a great music school." And I was like, "Okay." So I went to Youngstown State for my master's in jazz studies, and my thesis was like an emphasis in composition, but I was also like playing saxophone and writing for my combos and big band the whole time.
Wow. Cool. Heavy. So who did you study composition with?
So in my undergrad, I studied composition with a dude named John Marcinison for like classical composition. So for that, I was writing string quartets. I wrote a string quartet, and I wrote a lot of concert band pieces. Um, and those would be like my semester projects. Um, And for that, it wasn't a lot of score study. It was just like a lot of orchestrational things. So it was like, I have this tune and this is what it sounds like, and I can blah blah blah. I would compose actually with a guitar more than with a piano. He was also my guitar professor. I took a lot of lessons in undergrad. Um, yeah, voice for my major, clarinet, jazz sax, piano, guitar, comp. So those were my lessons. After sophomore year, I had 6 lessons a semester, and I was just like going to the wall. I was spending money. I might as well, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. Exactly.
was a Oh, John Marcinison. So he was my classical professor, and then my jazz combo professor encouraged me to write for the jazz combo, so to bring in tunes for the jazz combo. And then John was like, "Oh, okay, cool. We can switch to that." So we were juggling back and forth for that for my junior year. Um, and then my senior year, I took some arranging course, like an arranging independent study with my combo professor, Ted DeSanti, who graduated from Youngstown. And then at Youngstown, I studied with this amazing dude named Dave Morgan. So Dave is the bass and jazz or bass and just general composition, whether it's jazz or classical or commercial at Youngstown State. And then afterwards, I did some studying with Ryan Truesdale, the guy who runs the Gil Evans project. Um,
Heavy.
yeah, I looked up on his website. He was like, for lessons, and I was like, okay.
Yep.
And he was like, okay. And it was like between Dave and Ryan, those were like my two really big formative experiences when it came to writing.
Nice. And was that online or like with Ryan or yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, cool.
Ryan was it FaceTime lessons?
Yeah.
What did we meet? It wasn't via Zoom, or maybe it was. It was either Zoom or Skype, and we'd meet on online, and we'd score study. I'd do like score analysis up front, and then we'd talk a lot, and he'd give me a very long listening list, and then I'd be writing some stuff, and we'd be analyzing it together, and he'd talk about a whole bunch of stuff that he learned from Gil via score study and knowing, and from Bob via learning from Bob at what was it, NEC?
Yeah.
Yeah, at NEC, and then from Maria from like producing and working with Maria. And I was just like flabbergasted the whole time. Like, this is amazing, but also there's so much I don't know, which was great. And that's the point of lessons. I mean, it's really great when you pay money and you're like, I should have paid more for that. That's how I felt at the end of all of those lessons. That's how I felt at the end of Youngstown State. I was like, I should have paid more for that. That was great.
Wow. Cool. That's amazing. And totally. And kudos to you for like going for it and sending that email, like
They're trying to. Um, Sometimes I'm learning that is way better than going, oh, I wish. Because then, like for the New York show, I was like, man, I wish I could put a band together and play. And then I was like, wait a minute. Why can't I?
Ex-
So then I did. I got a venue, and then they were like, yeah, totally. And then I put a band together, and it almost happened. And that, to me, is still pretty special. It will happen eventually,
it
but
will.
yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's totally gonna happen.
yeah. Especially now that I know who would be willing to play, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I am a firm believer in like just that. The sense of like you're just gonna go for it. Because you've already decided that you're gonna go for it. So it's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, as soon as I decide that it can't happen, I've already made the decision that it's not going to happen. So you have to either make it happen or you don't make it happen. But, like, you can't exist in limbo forever. And, like, it sometimes feels like you are existing in limbo while you're in the process of making it happen. But, like, you're just making it happen. You're moving so at such small increments from day to day that you think you're just standing still, but you haven't just looked behind you, you know? That's just such an interesting concept to me.
Totally. Oh wow. Heavy. Oh, and also about you being a singer, which I had totally, I don't know how, because I remember now when we met, at ISJAC, you were like, I'm a singer too. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, there's not a lot of other singers, here.
I do. So I still sing, and I teach singing. But like when it comes to professional portfolio stuff, and like when I'm, I don't know, presenting myself to the public, especially in the pure jazz world, I don't say that I'm a singer. I'm like I'm a composer and I'm a saxophonist. But like one of the trio that I play in most actively on the Eastern Shore is I play keys, saxophone, and sing for it. And we are a very eclectic group where the drummer did a jazz degree, but plays in a lot of pop, rock, country, folk bands on the Eastern Shore. The bassist is a Spanish teacher who never did a formal music degree. And literally just got all his chops from transcribing because it was fun. Like he was just like, "Oh, I just really like music." And I'm like, "What? You never went to school?" He's like, "No, but like, I think I know some music theory." And he did music theory in high school, but like not super extensively. So like he's very conversant in a lot of things that when I met him, I didn't think was going to happen. So we started playing together. Me and him started playing together first, and then we found this drummer. And like since then, it's just been like really fun playing. It's not like I don't know. I feel like if I was playing in a jazz quartet, like I'm playing at a jazz club and a jazz quartet, there's like I don't know, pressure to just be like really good versus like I'm playing at a brewery with me and my two friends. And right now, the audience is kind of speechless, but at the same time, for us, we just made up a 4-chord vamp and we're going for it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then right after that, we'll cover a Stevie Wonder tune. Like,
Nice.
yeah.
Sweet. Yeah.
You sing, but I sing for that. But
Okay.
outside of that, I don't do a lot of singing anymore.
Okay. It's just funny because like I was listening to your music earlier today. I was listening to Sweet Childhood.
I forgot about that. Oh, I didn't forget it. I forget that people have that album.
Mm.
And I don't just have it to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the Apple Music and everything, even though I actually already have it. But yeah, that was what I was listening with. And I was just thinking like how singable all your melodies are.
Oh, so you asked, so like when you were like, here's some questions I might ask you, and you're like, what's your process?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I sing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of my process is either I'm doing something serial or I'm singing, and that's about it. So like opening up your voice memos app on your phone,
Yes.
having ideas that are sung to you, and then I make up a lot of songs too. Like in school, I like to freestyle to my children, and then I also like to make up songs in like a waiting period. It's become very, very entertaining for me when I have to wait for students to answer via Zoom because I don't know if they're behind their camera because their camera's off. So I'll just make up a song. I'll be like, I called on, but I'll like have the keyboard there and talk about how I'm calling on the student and maybe they should be there, or it'll be Friday and I'll talk about like make yourself smile this weekend and I'll make a song about making yourself smile. But in general, if I sit down at a keyboard or if I'm walking or if I'm talking or if I'm just bebopping in bed before I go to sleep, there's a musical idea somewhere and it's really cool to be able to like quickly have a device and go
Yeah.
because if I don't do that, I'll never remember it. Like, I don't know who can remember every idea besides like Louis Armstrong, Stevie Wonder, Jacob Collier, and Michael League. I don't know anyone in my mind who's like, I've remembered every musical idea that came across my desk.
Oh. And also it's great to use that because then you hear the original energy, or the dynamics or the mood or whatever, like just the expressivity of
Sometimes it's not even melodies. Sometimes it's like grooves or like an ostinato underpinning to write a melody on top of. Well, I'll just be like boom dum dum da boom dum dum da dum bum 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 da dum da da bum 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 da da. Oh, I'm like, okay, that's
This is being recorded.
Yeah, this is being recorded because I like
We'll have it.
the fourth measure.
Copyright Stephen Harvey 2020.
Bum,
One.
da-dum, bum, 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 da-dum, bum, 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 da-dum, dum, da, ba-dum, da, bum, bum, bum. There we go. Okay. So as long as I get to the first measure again, right? And then like sitting down and going, okay, how can I change that? How can I develop it? How can I extend it? How can I shorten it? And then like, how can I sing a melody on top of that? That's just always the funnest thing. I'm glad you said that, where you're like, they seem singable. It's like, great, because that's how I did a lot of my writing, or still do, actually.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then the serial stuff, let's talk about that a little bit too, the other end of the...
Well, the other end of it has to do with two things. It has to do with like this little bag. This little bag has become my favorite bag of things, and then like a notebook, right? So I wonder if... Oh no, it's this notebook. Ugh. I want to find one of my like pre-compositional... Nope. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So like this will be like a pre-compositional thing where I'll have like pitch sets and then identify intervals in those pitch sets and then do like rhythmic concepts in those. Is this... This is My Funny Valentine. Oh, so this is similar but not the same. This was a serial approach to harmonizing My Funny Valentine for a show last year. So I took the melody of My Funny Valentine. I took the first three notes of My Funny Valentine, and then I don't... Is your fig? Yeah, and I took the first three notes of the bridge of My Funny Valentine, and then I took... I was like, how many like pitch sets are in there, and how many intervals are in there, and then how can I manipulate that with this rhythm, and then wrote an arrangement of My Funny Valentine based on that. And like, if I do all this at the bottom, all this at the bottom, the rhythmic structure, the different little melodic lines that I can make using the intervals rather than the notes, and then I have a song. But instead of a melody from that we already know, I might like use these die. So I found these die on Amazon, and these die are like 12-sided music die. So it's like just chromatic 12-sided chromatic die, and there's 12 of them. So I will take 2, 3, or 4, because any more than that and you just eventually get the whole chromatic scale when you're doing this. But I take 2, 3, or 4 and I roll them. E and D. So E and D, I can create a major second, I can create a minor seventh, ascending or descending, right? If I take 3, so that's 4 intervals, right? Yeah, that's 4 intervals: major second, ascending and descending, minor seventh, ascending and descending. And to create a melody from that would sound really, really wide for the most part, but not really, because I can have consecutive major seconds. So it's not going to just sound like E and D. I mean, I'm trying to think. I think you're the one who told me about this book. The Ron Miller composition and modal harmony book. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but I haven't like gotten too far into that.
Okay, and I didn't the second book yet. I was doing the first book, which is on my piano. I bought that in December, I think. But like you told me about it in either 2017 or 2019. But like
it was more recent, and you know who told me it was Christine Johnson.
Yeah. So I just bought those, and I was like, oh, this is stuff that I do, but I didn't know it was from this book. This is stuff that people suggested or taught to me. And I was like, oh, but like the book is a lot more, it has a lot more detail and a lot more examples than like what I thought of 5 years ago, or 6 years ago when I was in school. But yeah, I'll roll the die and come up with a pitch set rather than take it from a melody, and then come up with like clusters that I can create starting from different notes. So if the melody or the 3 notes are C, D, and E flat, like in My Funny Valentine, then I can first figure out all the intervals and then create a cluster starting from E flat using those intervals, create a cluster starting from D using those intervals. And if I, with that, I found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 distinct intervals. That makes sense. And then like made chords from them that and saw which types of chords I can harmonize with the melody notes of My Funny Valentine, which made it like, which makes arranging really, really fun, but not necessarily the quickest. Like if I'm quickly arranging things, I'm like, oh, okay, how can I make it slightly different than what it's originally presented as, and then let's go. But the serial part is like, I want it to sound singable in one part, and I want the rest of it to sound not singable, but not something that I would originally think of at a piano.
Yeah.
That's
Totally.
yeah, because I feel like if not, then I think of the same things at the piano on a daily basis, where I'm like, do. This is how I knew I was gonna go there. Why?
Yeah.
I'm in C minor again. Why am I here? Like,
Totally.
yeah.
Heavy. Wow, wow, wow. So have you checked out the Bob Brookmeyer White Note or any of the stuff from that too?
Yeah, so after that ISJAC, that was 2019 too.
That was, yeah.
So I was sending charts to Dave Ravello at Eastman so I could get some recordings. Dave Ravello graduated from Youngstown. I met his dad randomly at while I was in Youngstown at a big band gig. His dad was in the audience. And he was like, oh, that was great. But he said something about my playing him. And I was like, oh, hi, what's your name? He's like, something Ravello. I'm like, are you Dave Ravello's dad? And he's like, yeah. And at that time, I hadn't met Dave Ravello. I was like, oh, wow, this is heavy. But Dave turned me on to the book right before it was released. So he was like, yeah, you should go get this book. I'm going to talk about it at ISJAC, blah, blah, blah. So me and a couple friends from the Pittsburgh area, another friend of mine studies with Dave, or studied. I don't know if he still does. But that was one of the first exercises that I really, really liked. And a piece came up out of it, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But that white note exercise is not something, stuff I wouldn't originally think of, because it's just like music vomit. And then you're like, oh, let's segment this and develop that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I haven't thought about that in a while, because the last time I thought about it, I think, was 2019 when I did it, but I haven't used that as a writing exercise recently.
Okay, cool. So is this serial, where did you get this serial technique from? Where is that influenced?
From Dave Morgan. We did it, or he was talking about it in a class once, and then I tried it with My Funny Valentine, a different piece I have called Winding, and from Bob, like Bob, well, not Bob, but from Ryan Truesdell via Bob Brookmeyer. But Bob would try not to overcompose things by creating too many ideas, or not using the same ideas, or not using similar ideas. And one of the ways he would do that is to come up with like little small motives and then develop things from inside of those motives. So I was like, oh, it's like a pitch class set. So developing things from inside a pitch class set rather than developing things throughout the melody. And I still do develop things horizontally, but I like to think diagonally, like developing things horizontally and vertically at the same time. So like maybe this melody isn't the same. There's like no repetitive parts to it, but then the harmonies are also non-repetitive. But the more horizontal the development gets, the more lost it is. So like I have to decide one, and I usually decide on harmony as like, so a vertical structure development, rather than like the rhythms are always different and you can't guess when you're gonna come in. And it, like, when you listen to Darcy James argue stuff, especially in like, what's that album, Infernal Machines, the first Secret Society album, it's just like so rhythmically complex and sometimes very through composed. And for me, I have a hard time grasping a piece if I don't return to rhythmic material that I've used before. So, kind of taking the Bob Brookmeyer um, approach to not overcomposing, um, mixed with this pitch class thing that Dave taught me in grad school, and then applying that to different things. So I've done a couple of things like that. I think I'm trying to think. I think projectile dysfunction was also serial. Um, yeah, if I can't sing the melody to myself from memory, then it's more than likely something I did in a serial fashion. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but that's where it came from. It came from a mixture of studying with Ryan and looking at Bob Brookmeyer scores and the pitch class concept that Dave Morgan taught me in grad school.
wow. So that's like a lot of source, like mentor material. Like, who are your music, like top three? Oh, I don't know. How can I? Top
That
three musical.
question stresses me out.
Oh no.
Okay, so I don't like making top three or top ones. If people ask for top five, that's a little less stressful.
Okay.
I did an interview the other day, and I was like top five, and when I got to the fifth, I started freaking out. So
Sorry.
hopefully everyone who watches that on television, that interview, they won't be like, "Why is he freaking out?" Top five musical influences. I want to narrow it down to like a genre. If we're talking in general, I listened to a lot. So my first experience with music in general when I was a kid was gospel music. So I grew up singing in the church, in like a Baptist church, a Southern style Baptist church, but in the North. So we sang a lot of gospel music and a lot of hymns. So like to sing a hymn in 4-part harmony is nothing for my family. Like while we're sitting around, my wife is very angry about it sometimes. She's not angry, but she's just like, I can't do that. And you guys just break out in the harmony. And it's like, well, it's a hymn. Um,
Cool.
so like not a person, but like the concept of church music, specifically black church music, was really, really big in my upbringing. If I had to name a person within that idiom, Kirk Franklin, the way he wrote a lot of his choral music and incorporated popular styles into his choral music. He did a lot of Christian rap and choral music, like funk lines in his choral music, which was I always thought was like so cool. Man, Maria, I mean, like really, I don't know if I would like large ensemble music if I didn't find Maria Schneider's music. Like at least first. Like I had played Sammy Nestico charts before, but like they were so juxtaposed to watered down versions of other things that like I just thought of them that way, which is one a huge mistake. Sammy Nestico's a phenomenal writer, but met when I met Maria Schneider's music, that's when I was like, whoa, band can sound like this. And then people were like, yeah, it's been sounding like that, you idiot. Here you go. Here's all the other stuff. And I was like, oh. But Maria, oh my, Chris Potter. I did my master's thesis on him, and a lot of people only think of him as a saxophonist, and he is such a gorgeous writer. It's ridiculous. So he has several large ensemble albums where it's either like some sort of mixed ensemble, or he has a big band album with I think the NR Big Band, or maybe it was Frankfurt Radio Big Band, where he wrote all the charts for it as well. And when I listen to his music, I really like his style. Like he does sort of like a double exposition development. I don't know what to call it, but he does this thing where he will set a tune. He does like a lot of not vamps, but he'll do say an 8-bar melody or 16-bar melody. The 16 bars might be really weird, but he'll do like a 16-bar melody and then set that melody as the underpinning. And you've known it as the melody for like 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes, and you've known it as the melody. And then he'll put it underneath something that is twice as long. And maybe you've heard the thing that is twice as long at a different portion in the thing, and then they sync up. and they create these really cool harmonies, or they create these cool polyrhythmic structures on top of each other. There's this one piece called Sky from Imaginary Cities, on his Imaginary Cities album. And not only is it like rhythmically extremely complex, but when I realized that, or when the melody came back in underneath this really complex underpinning, I was like, oh snap, this has been the same thing the whole time. And that kind of concept blows my mind. Gospel music, Maria Schneider, Chris Potter, Alan Menken. Do you know who Alan Menken is?
A Disney composer?
Yeah,
Yes, right?
Disney composer. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
Alan
yeah.
Menken was
Yeah.
my childhood. Like,
Yeah.
like everyone, like a lot of people my age. Alan Menken wrote all that music for the Disney Renaissance. I mean, like, there were what, three movies he didn't do? Tarzan, Mulan, and Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
All three still have wonderful music. But Alan Menken basically got me through my childhood. I would be wa- watching Disney movies every day for hours on end, and like internalizing all of that music, internalizing all that orchestration, internalizing all that harmonic motion that was like really not as far removed from the Great American Songbook as today's musicals are. So I just like really
Yeah.
liked his work. And like, if I could be Alan Menken, I say this all, if I could be Alan Menken and like write music for children's movies, I kind of would go do that, to like just
Uh,
make songs for children. That would be a really fun thing to do.
huh.
Oh no.
Heavy. I teach a lot of those songs, those
Yeah,
Disney songs. Oh yeah, they're great.
they are great. They're absolutely great, especially when you have the modulations, the modulation in a whole new world. Me and my sister would freak out about it all the time. It was like, now I'm in a whole new world with you, and I was like, ah!
Now I'm in a whole new world with you.
That was the modulation in that song used to freak me out.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. Cheers for Alan Menken, because one, you got me through my childhood, and then two, you were my first non-sacred music experience that really, sorry, not my first, but my first choosing non-sacred music experience. Because of course my mom liked things like Temptations, Stevie Wonder, like lots of funk and soul music as a kid, but like for me as a child, it's like that's my mom's music. Like as a 6-year old, I'm like, put on the Disney stuff. That's where I'm going.
Ah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. This is, see, when I get to five, I like.
Yeah, that's okay. You don't have to do
I
five.
even made a list.
You-
I made a list, and I think there's like 20 people.
That's
Yeah. Hmm.
cool.
I can't really decide. Oh, Vince Mendoza.
Oh yeah,
I can't.
nicely
Vince
chosen.
Mendoza's Nice Nights on Earth album um was one of the first large orchestral or like studio orchestral albums that I had on heavy rotation. And I got it in grad school because I think it came out in like 2012, but I didn't get it until like 2015. And I don't think it came out on my rate or my CD car player for probably half a year. Anytime I would go anywhere, I'd be listening to Vince Mendoza. Um, I think his writing's so beautiful. It's also very song-like. One thing I really appreciate about like studio composers and jazz composers is their methods of incorporating multiple styles and multiple cultures in their music, and them expressing their own culture or expressing their own love for different types of music that I might not be initially attracted to starting to listen to in their music, and then me going, man, that's beautiful. I should listen to more of that. And I feel like with Vince Mendoza's Nights on Earth, which was recommended to me, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll totally listen to that. I don't know who this Vince Mendoza guy is yet at this point in time. And then learning who he is and all of his music, his Homecoming album with the VD Big Band, great. He's a great writer.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
apparently a really nice dude. I that ISJAC the last time I was drunk and I was like, "Man, you're great." He was like, "Thanks, man," and I was like, "That was my one shot to talk to Vince Mendoza." And you're being that guy at the bar. Oh my gosh, yeah, but a really
That's
nice guy.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Well, the same conference, I was like, I think it was the last night, same party. I was just like outside
Yeah,
on the street, like on the sidewalk, like calling Rob, just being like, "Hey, this is gonna be, this is my good night call because I'm not gonna be home till late. This is," and then like Rufus Reed and Vince Mendoza walked by, and I was like, "Yeah, Rob, it's been a really good day," and Rufus was like, "Yes, it has been a fabulous day."
in that like deep tone,
Yeah, totally.
that hearted tone that he has. Oh
It's like
yeah.
Vince Mendoza and Rufus Reed just walked by. you know,
Oh
just a
yeah.
regular old day.
That's how I feel anytime I'm not a I get very starstruck super easily, and my wife does not. So I like when she comes with me to places because she'll be like, "Talk to the person. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, talk to the person." Like when I met Maria Schneider in March of 2017. Yes, in March of 2017, after we had exchanged several emails, because a CD of mine that I ordered from her website got lost, and in my mind, I was like, when I email this website, like an assistant is going to email me back, or a webmaster is going to email me back, like whatever, whatever. And she emailed me back. And in my bio of the email, it said Seton Hill University, 2014, Young Sound Safe, whatever, whatever. And she was like, "Hey, my niece is going to the university that you graduated from for your undergrad." And I was like, "Wow, that's really specific, especially because where's she from? Wisconsin?"
Yeah,
Like, I was
right.
like, "Wow, that's really specific." Or no, Minnesota. That's where she's from. In the Midwest. She's from the Midwest. Um, and then she was like, "Oh, and I went to your website. Great music. You keep writing." And that literally just set a fuel in my fire for 30,000 years.
Yeah.
And then we exchanged like emails talking about music and blah, 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 blah. And she was like, "Where do you live?" And I was like, "I live in Salisbury, Maryland." She's like, "Oh, I have a show at the Kennedy Center. You and your wife should come. Or at that time, you and your fiance should come." Uh, so she gave us tickets to go there. We had already talked several times. When it came to meeting her, I was like, "Oh, I can't go just talk to her." My wife's like, "What are you talking about? She brought you here. Go talk to her." I'm really bad about it. I get very starstruck. So like I would have been you when without being inebriated, I probably would have been like, "Oh my gosh, can't do it."
I know. I am totally the same. That's so funny.
It's just dumb because eventually you're like, "Oh, people are people, and these are just people, and they like bird watching and eating tacos and mixing a nice drink." Like,
We'll get used to it. I think like though things like ISJAC, I mean, um, like that really does kind of change the way you interact with other musicians and I don't know. Like when Chick Corea played that amazing concert for us in 2017 in Tampa. And I don't remember his exact words, but it was something along the lines of, playing to my peers. Like, and then you think about like how amazing that is that we have this, like, that we're all just connected and we're striving for the same sort of thing. We're all, different levels in Chikorea, but like what a gracious attitude for one thing, but also just like that sense of community that ISJAC has really created. I think it's just, I don't know, it's helping me with my hero worshiping in a healthy way.
yeah, it's helping me. I think it helps with that, and I really think it helped me see the visibility of composers around. I mean, like when like Facebook groups are great, but at the same time, it's like I don't know who you are. Like you just posted in a Facebook group. I'm like, "All right, great, cool. Let me go check out this thing real quick." And I got a notification. I'm off on this way. So like to have like the symposium where you go, you meet people, you sit down, you talk about what they're interested in. You talk about what you're interested in. You see where it connects. You see about things that you don't know about, and you're like, "Ooh, I need to learn more about that." And there's a room full of experts ready to talk to you about it, and you're just like, "Oh my gosh!" I think that's amazing. Especially when it comes to like, I don't know, just bridging the gap between distance or bridging the gap between generations, like meeting all the older arrangers and composers who were like, oh no, I still use pen and paper, and someone and this is how I change things. ISJAC has really helped with the hero worship. I've yet to go to a Gen conference. I'd really like to go to one of those, but yeah, ISJAC for me has been really, really cool too. Yeah, you meet cool friends like you.
Right? And then we're doing this. We get to talk shop right here. Yeah.
Me in 2017, hey, 4 years from now, you're going to do a podcast with Sarah. You're still going to know who she is. You're going to do a podcast, and you're still going to be actively writing and doing the thing. And I'll be like, sure, mysterious voice.
I was wondering more about these archetypes and tropes.
Oh,
that you mentioned.
I'm going to go into the note. I want to talk about like the things that are in that note because it's more beyond composition ideas. There we go. All right. So in this in general is like all the composition ideas that I'm currently working with, and then a different document of like on my computer. It's right in front of me, but on a different space where that is. So for like the superhero things, I just wrote down an idea, a title, an idea. The title might not stay, but like a title-ish thing. Here are the 9 titles that the pieces are for right now for this album project I'm working on right now. Projectile Dysfunction, Mechanical Men, Vigilante, Zephyr, Hero's Journey, Smash, Nefarious Plots, The Mystics, and Party Song. And all of them have some sort of different archetype, trope, character, or sometimes power associated with them, right? So for example, like Zephyr, which is like the east wind in Greek mythology, is all about like the power of flight, being able to fly and soaring through things. And I wanted this really like bright, flowing melody, but like one that it's pretty fast. When I was writing it, I was still studying with Ryan, and he was like, "This is really fast. If you can't play this, you shouldn't put it on a bandstand." I was like, "All right, cool." And then I sent him a video that night. I practiced it, but I sent him a video that night of me playing the lead part for it. I was like, "Well, I can put it on a bandstand." And he was like, "All right, cool." But like attaching an idea gives me, I don't know, something to start with. Well, if I start with absolutely nothing, it takes me a while to do stuff. I really like programmatic ideas and concepts. So like the 9 ideas, projectile dysfunction we already talked about. Mechanical Men is about like mechanical superheroes, like androids, cyborgs, people with like mechanical armor, like Iron Man and War Machine. I was really big. I still am really big into Power Rangers. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Yeah. So cool. Power Rangers. I used to be an encyclopedia. I am not well versed in the last 4 seasons. I mean, like the past 4 years. That's about it. Before that, I got you. But like there's Zords, the big mechanical Zords that would turn into a mechanical man, and like things like Voltron. Those were always really cool to me as a kid. So I really liked that concept. Vigilante. So like, what do you know any vigilante heroes that you'd be like, that guy's a vigilante?
Batman.
Yeah, that right. Yeah. So like, right, the crazy. So Batman and like Daredevil, but mainly not like the brooding ones with all that guilt, like Batman and his like parent guilt, and like Daredevil and his Catholic guilt, and like that dark, I'm all by myself. This is me on my crusade type of character and archetype was like the inspiration behind Vigilante. Smash is like supposed to be like a big knockout, drag out fight between all the really, really Herculean characters. So like Hercules, Thor, the Hulk, anyone with like big muscles or big power. So like She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, people who like knock a punch. It's all like there's a lot of band hits and a lot of like crunch in those band hits for a little bit of time. And it's just supposed to be that like the punches in that.
Nice.
Nefarious plots, like the trope of a villain talking about their plan beforehand. So there's talking trombone. It's a trombone feature, and it's like this alt blues that is a trombone feature, and the melody is a talking trombone. So it's like this alt funk blues with the talking trombone, and the talking trombone is supposed to be the villain talking about their thing. It's not really like really fast talking trombone. It's more so like in out in out, rather than like super plungery like wah 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 wah. It's not going to sound like Peanuts, like Charlie Brown cartoon.
Yeah.
But that's the inspiration behind that. Mystics would be like characters like Doctor Strange or Doctor Fate or Zatanna and Zatara, like your mystical superheroes. And I wanted something that sounded ethereal, like I opened Pandora's box, or I'm opening the gateway to another dimension, but not necessarily stepping into it. Ooh.
Totally.
And then was like Party Song is the only one that I didn't intend to be part of the thing, but I think fits the thing. When I composed it, it was one of my singing tunes. This is like one of the singing tunes on the album that was pure, like this is a poppy tune. And it used to be called because I didn't know what to call it, and I would sing it like yeah, and then eventually I was like, man, this song feels like a party, and I was like, party song, you just beat up the blah 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 blah, it's the end of the episode, you learned your lesson, party song. 9 compositions all have like some sort of attachment to a character from a TV show, comic book, or a movie, or like a trope that they embody, or a trope that they have executed, or archetypes that they embody within popular culture. So I have more ideas that I'm eventually going to get to. I'd really like to do it all again with completely different ideas. So like a spy chart, something that's like not Mission Impossible, not James Bond, but sort of like Black Widow, it's covert operations. I already have the melody written out. Apparently I put it in bold. So I don't write it again. You're like you're like animal characters, people like Black Panther, trying to make a piece that's reminiscent of those animal magnetism characters. A piece that manipulates time called the Speedsters that goes really, really fast, but like, oh man, I keep thinking about it and I still haven't done it yet. So I really want the melody to be presented as this regular melody, and then like some quieter instruments do this really, really fast double time underpinning while we're going slow, and then eventually have this really, really fast melody that was the underpinning while some of the band is not going slow but playing the original melody as chords behind it. So it'd be like the real world and the real time, and then like the speech time in front, but it'd be burning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then like a stupid fun song about just being a geek, and then like a song about the multiverse. So trying to like manipulate a theme as many times as you can to change it in the multiverse. So it's almost recognizable, but it's different. And by the time you get from beginning to the end, you're back at home, but you travel through these different realms, not necessarily changing styles too much to like jar you too much. And then the opposite, not necessarily the opposite, but the unreliable narrator like trope in storytelling, where it's like you're reading the story, but the narrator's been lying to you the whole time.
Ooh.
Yeah, so like constantly changing. I don't know how to embody that, but I like the concept of an unreliable narrator and storytelling. Um, so those are just ideas, but 9 ideas are fully fleshed out like compositions. And then what are these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ideas are on the docket for sometime later. Probably not this year, but like
Yeah.
sometime later.
With the Kickstarter campaign that you're running, this is to record those 9 compositions, or is it going to be okay?
Yeah. So those the Kickstarter is to record those 9 compositions. The goal is to record on August 17th and 18th at Audible Images in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we already have it like picked out. The goal is to raise enough money for the Kickstarter so that we meet our goal, and then to play a few shows beforehand, and then record that Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay. Wow. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, so we played this music 3 times already. I was supposed to in the New York show. It was going to be most of all the music, and it was supposed to like I don't know. It was just, yeah, it was like a show dedicated to that music. And one of the things that I don't want to do is to only play this music. So
Yeah.
I want to write some tunes that are not associated with superheroes at all. I want to write some charts for my mixed ensemble that I haven't written for since college. That instrumentation, I'd really like to do more of that writing. But yeah, right now I'm focused on recording those 9 compositions, performing those 9 compositions with a couple extra to like flesh out a larger set in the fall, and then afterwards, the next thing is an octet suite, which I've started writing already, and then after that is a mixed ensemble suite, which I will eventually start. But I don't even have an idea for yet, but I know that that is what I want to do next. That's like the compositional cycle I would like to do. I would like to do large ensemble of our big band jazz orchestra, octet, mixed ensemble, and then just keep going in that creative cycle if I could. And like, of course, like do stuff here and there, but then build out enough repertoire that if I wanted to do a big band show, like fine, I have that repertoire, but not necessarily writing all new music for it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. I think it's cool to kind of challenge the instrumentation choices so that you don't get too comfortable, and explore too, like what writing for different instruments is so exciting to do that.
That's one thing that I don't do a lot. I write for the same instrumentations, the same 2 instrumentations over and over, but I don't write for other instrumentations. That'd be something I feel like outside the environment of having a friend. So I'm not like close to a city, and I don't know people who play out here for the most part, like other than some of the professors at the local university. But like, I feel like if I had friends who had an ensemble and they were like, I want you to write for this, which was actually about to happen right before the pandemic, and then it didn't happen. 2 of my friends, Chris and Lauren, they play in my big band, but they're married and they have a duo for electronic music. I think they were about to start, and they wanted, or maybe it was just sax and trombone that I was going to write a piece for, and then pandemic. Yeah.
It'll happen. It'll happen when it happens.
Yeah, I'm less frustrated about it now. If you would have asked me, like this time last year, especially in May of last year, super frustrated. We were talking about this earlier, super dark. But like right now, it's just like it's so nice to have almost light at the end of the tunnel. It's still an unpredictable light that could get shut off at any time, and we have to remember that. But like, it's so nice to be like, oh, people are having gigs, and I feel safe being in public, and I feel safe playing music with people. I played gigs over the pandemic that I did not feel safe and I did not feel comfortable, and I was like, I don't think we should be having this gig if people aren't respecting like the COVID procedures. And yeah, it's just like to have that weight off, not all the way off, but like to set it down.
Yeah.
I'll pick it back up if I need to be safe, to take care of me, my wife, my students, my family. But like, I get to set it down for a bit and think, I'm going to play some music.
Yeah. Because we're all very tired of carrying that. You got to set it down.
Yeah, I feel like there's some people who didn't. I don't know. I'm semi jealous of some people who did not care at all. It's like, man, you just must have been living the past year and a half. I don't know how, but
I don't know how either.
wow. Hey, I mean,
Yep.
you live in Canada. That's all I'll say.
Well, it's not
Oh,
perfect here.
uh,
It's definitely not. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, right. But let's talk about, okay, so Kickstarter is available. Where's your email address? Not email address, web address.
web address is www.stephenpharvey.com. Stephen is spelled with a PH, so it looks like stephenfarvey.com when people look at it, but it's stephenpharvey.com. And when you go there, there is a button for the Kickstarter that leads you to the Kickstarter page, or you can just search up Smash Stephen Philip Harvey Jazz Orchestra, or SPHJO, in Kickstarter, and it'll bring you directly to the page because it is a very specific name.
And the campaign ends June 11th.
Yeah, the campaign ends June 11th. Right now, we're close to 35% funded, and we're about halfway through.
Okay.
We're still really, really hopeful. Looking at every opportunity that I can to get funded, and every literal amount helps. So if you're listening to this and you go, man, that superhero concept sounds pretty okay, then go donate or go pledge a donation. You don't have to be a $5,000 donor to help bring the concept to life. Any literal amount of fuel helps this machine take flight. You know what I'm saying? That almost rhymed. Ooh.
Ooh,
Best
ooh.
rapper at Y. I have a mug that says so.
Amazing. So like it's such a huge undertaking to record a big band, to write all this music for one thing, and then to record it and to put it together and rehearse and lead and do all that stuff. It's like it is a superhero undertaking, you could say.
Yeah, well, if anyone's a
So,
hero, I feel like it's all the musicians who agree to play music that is not theirs, to be a part of a process that doesn't have their name attached to it in a big way. For me, it feels like I'm just talking a lot about myself, which gets really annoying. To like be like, donate to this Kickstarter, help make this album a
well,
reality, and like people, I appreciate everyone's support so far, but I think the real heroes are the people who are donating, who really go beyond themselves to go, yeah, I want to make someone else's dreams come true, or I want to make someone else's art a reality. And I often do the same thing, but not necessarily. I feel like for me, it's like a colleague thing where I'm like, oh yeah, my colleague is raising money for this thing. I want to make sure I uh, donate to that. But
yeah.
for random people to do it, I think it's the coolest thing. And for random, not random, but my friends who are musicians to stick beside this whole time and are ready to play, like I think that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so cool. And also, just imagine like how awesome it's going to be to sit in front of a big band. I mean, like it might be a little scary to think about that in this at this point in history, but when it's safe, when like We're clear. We're in the clear, sitting in front of a huge big band playing music about superheroes.
Yeah, I think it's a fun concept, and one of my goals was to make it accessible. So I would really like to be able to be like, all right, kids, so this is about this superpower. Can you think of any superheroes? And then like all the kids are like, yeah, because I mean, like if this was 40 years ago, and you're like, could you think of superheroes? Half the kids would know, but now like all the kids are like, yeah, superheroes, of course. Uh, and then have that sort of programmatic attachment to the music to help keep extra engagement. Where I live right now, there's not a lot of jazz music at all. And it'd be really, really cool to be able to bring this music to areas like where I live, or just to people, not just kids, but people in general, and have like this programmatic attachment that they resonate with large ensemble jazz music.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We should probably talk about the piece that you wanted to play.
Oh,
Or
oh yeah, we can write a piece. I didn't play. I didn't. So I was like, let's write a piece real quick. Um, I don't have anything to play, but we can write a 16 to 32 bar tune, and I think we can do it in 5 to 10 minutes.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. All right,
Okay.
I like singing a tune. So for those of you at home, I like singing tunes, and I'm gonna go back and forth between you and the piano, and hopefully it's not too loud or anything like that.
It's all good so far.
So boop ba boo da. No, I don't like that. Okay, so. All right, so the motive in that. Okay, I like that part of it. That could be another next album. Okay, wait. That's another. We're back home. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
I'm trying to use the same motive. So when I sing a tune, I'll sing basically something random, and they're like, okay, what do I like about that? And can I repeat it? And can I like transpose it down? So we did. I'm in the key of B flat, and it starts with the 2-5 in B flat. So I'm going do da da 2-5 flat 7 do da da. And now instead of this, I'm back at the 7. You're no, we're good. I like that better.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So that's our A section.
Okay.
I don't need to write it down.
Amazing.
same thing. It'll be AA. I think AABA is a great way to write a quick tune.
I like that.
And then I want to go. Where do I want the bridge to go? Do I want to go to 4?
What about down a minor third or up a minor third?
Okay. Hmm. So using that Beethoven thing where you're like, here's the note, and now here's the new key, that romantic. I feel like I'm going. No. Okay, I still have enough time. There we go. So the fun part is that I have this recorded. So if I forget any of it, but I think this is the whole tune. Okay, 1,
Okay.
2. We're gonna use the same thing that. Fives. Making my life easier since 2015. Where was that? No. Can't remember the bridge now. Shoot! Bridge. I know the chords like this too. And then back to the A. So a simple lead sheet tune that could eventually be developed is, if I can't sing it or if I don't want to sing it when I'm thinking of the motive, then I usually don't write it down. Yes, this results in not the same type of tune, but the same type of resolutions being drawn. I like major sevenths a whole bunch, and I like to plane major sevenths, which is a tactic I need to get out of. But sometimes it results in weirder things that I didn't think that I would sing, where you hear it and you're like, ooh, or you just change the bass note and you're like, I like that harmony. Yeah, I forgot about a tune part to that, but that's our tune. What should we name it?
I don't know.
What's a different word for I don't know? Pondering.
Je ne sais quoi.
Wow. It has that certain je ne sais quoi.
A little Canadian French.
Uh,
Oh
uh,
no. Uh, it's an enigma.
c'est bleu, c'est calme. C'est bleu, c'est so blue and so blue, so calm. That's what we'll call it. You
Ooh.
said je ne sais quoi, and then here's my thought process. Je ne sais quoi. French. Cool. Oh, I remember the French literature that I did in college. Oh, I really like that one poem slash art song, Prison. Oh, le ciel est par-dessus les toits, c'est bleu, c'est calme. Ooh.
C'est bleu, c'est calme. I like it. Beauty! Yay! Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was really great to chat and kind of get some insights into your process and hear all about Smash, and it's so exciting. I really like I wish you the best of luck with the Kickstarter campaign. I
Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah.
your support and thanks for your like support and thanks for like I think you were one of the first people who was like, well then go do it. Like that 2017 conference was the conference that told me, yeah, you should just go write the music instead of thinking about it. So in 2018, I started. I had like a few more months after that, but like you were one of the first people to be like, oh, you should just go do it then.
I think that's where I was at in my life at that time. just, just do
If
it.
you want to do the thing,
Yeah.
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 And it was like it was great. Yeah. But thank you for
Yay.
having Artistic Digs
Oh,
2021.
thanks. Thanks for being on Artistic Digs.